This is the Prestige Initiative. Welcome. I'm Chris Bean. Today, I have a distinguished guest with me today, Michael Del Prete, the Executive Director of Arizona Real Estate Investors Association and co-host of the AZREIA Show. Mike, nice to meet you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, can you tell me a little bit about you and kind of what brought you here today?
Yeah, you know, uh, great question. So, what brought me here today, and a little bit about myself. I'm currently the executive director of the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. I'm also a real estate investor. That's my what I've been doing for the last 14 years, everything from wholesaling, renting houses, fix and flipping houses, Airbnbs. So my wife and I do that on a daily basis, as well as the organization. So here at the organization, our job is to support real estate investors throughout the entire state of Arizona for education. So they get the proper education to provide safe, clean, affordable housing to our citizens of Arizona. We provide networking opportunities. We do about 15 events a month for people to get to know each other and share resources. And then we do market information, right? You need to know where the market's at. You need to know what's going on a monthly basis so you can make the proper decisions in your business, as well as government affairs, right? There's always changes in regulations and rules and laws, and we are that voice for the real estate investor.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, you got the whole all inclusive type of program going on.
Yeah, trade association, right? Like any, trade out there that has usually an organization that supports them and leads the way. So that's what we're here for.
Very good. Now, Michael, for our listeners that maybe don't know very much about real estate investing, can you give me an overview of your mission and, the kind of the role that it would play as, real estate investors?
So the role of the organization, or just the power of like real estate investing for somebody like you're listening.
Yeah, maybe both. Both.
Okay, so let's just keep it very simple. I'm not here to push. When you hop on your cell phone, right? You see the guy with the Ferraris. I flip 100 houses. I own 250 houses, and you can do it too. But you got to download. So again, it's real. It happens. You can do it. It's 100% true. However, that can be, especially in this day and age. When I joined this organization 14 years ago, it's like houses were 100, $200,000. You can cash flow, right? Meaning after you pay your mortgage and your expenses and your tenant pays rent, you have money left over. And you can do that multiple times. You can buy a house and fix and flip it easy because there's inventory in the market, right? There wasn't a housing shortage and all this stuff. So we have it a little bit different. I ain't gonna lie, but it's still possible, and we're still doing transactions every day. So you just got to adapt a little bit, educate yourself, and be around the right information and people. So I say one of our slogans is empowering investors one property at a time. That's it, man. Just buy a house, right? I get really, it hurts to hear some of these bigger guys online that have jets. Don't buy houses. They're switching the agenda. Don't buy houses. Don't buy your house. That's the best thing you could possibly do, because over the last 5 years, houses have increased 60% and they tripled over the last 30 years. So if you're 18, 25, 30, I don't care. Buy a house now and maintain it and take care of it, take care, live in it, put a tenant. I don't care. That could be helpful towards your retirement in the future. It might be hard to think about that, but that's the one thing, man. We want, buy houses. It's very powerful. And one of the best parts about that is um, we say real estate's an ideal investment because you get income, access to depreciation, because the tax code provides benefits to entrepreneurs. You just got to understand them. We all have access to it equally. And if you don't understand it, you got to hire someone that does. Then you have equity, right? That's when your balance is being paid down, and then appreciation as the market goes up, and then L is leverage, right? So leverage is key. So think about this: when you own a rental property, um, okay, you buy it, right? Yes, you might have to have good credit if you use a bank, and there's other ways without banks. But say you got the bank, and then you put a tenant inside. So you're leveraging the bank to buy the house more than 97% of it potentially. And then the tenant that goes in there, we receive potentially almost 30% of their income. And that's paying down the bank loan. right? So that's the power of real estate. Your tenant's paying down the mortgage, you borrowed the money from someone else, and then over time it's going to increase in value. How many times can you do that over and over and over again? As much as it's up to you.
Well, and it's interesting that, like you said, that people are trying to push people out from buying houses.
Mhm.
It just seems like buying the house is the obvious choice because if you're on the other side of that, if you're the renter, the tenant, then you are allowing your money to flow to somebody else so that they can make money on the property that they already own or that they're paying off, and you're just helping them on that endeavor. But you get little to nothing. I mean, you get a house, you get somewhere where you can stay for that time, but you're actually getting nothing for that money.
Yeah, I get it, right? If you don't want to be locked down, right? You want to travel on your laptop and blah around the world. Hey man, more power to you. Go for it. You still own a house. You can still put a renter in there. You can still be responsible and maintain it, right? Like it's called responsibility, man. I'm just saying, plant that seed, buy that house now, and it'll pay off in the future. These houses, okay, and here's what happens over time, right? It's a long game. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. When you own a house over time and the markets are sometimes the markets goes down, and you're like, oh my God, my house isn't worth what it used to be. No, but your tenant's still paying rent. Don't worry about it. You'll get through the storm. It always happens. And so uh what was I going to say on that? You can pull the equity out, right? If you feel that that's a good choice, you can do a HELOC or a refinance, cash out refinance. And when you refinance and you get that 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 of equity, it's not taxable. So when you sell, you create a taxable situation. You pay Uncle Sam. If you refi, now you take that 30, 40, 50 grand and you use it as a down payment on the next house.
Now, I know for a little while, and this was maybe 10 or so years ago, there was like a rent to buy was kind of a lot of, the thing that was going around. Is that still as relevant in today's economy as it was 10 or so years ago?
Funny you say that. Our meeting that we had in our Tucson chapter in Tucson, Arizona, that the three panelists I had, that was like their main strategy, right? So strategies, there's a toolbox of strategies that you can use. There's hundreds of them, right? To acquire real estate, to exit real estate, right? So there's a lot. You just got to learn it, right? I could talk for hours about it, but yes, the rent to own, lease option, lease purchase, they are still working and happening. That's another powerful tool. But yeah, you just got to get out there and learn those options. Yeah, did I answer the question? Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah,
happening.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So, as the executive director, you oversee, I'm sure, various aspects of from, marketing information to business development. Can you shed some light on some areas where your role and how your role contributes to the success of the members of the AZREIA organization?
Got it. Great. So I'm learning that. So let's put it. So I've been a member here for 14 years, and it was talking about like mindset and sticking with it. And I started off as walking in here and like real estate investors, millionaires. No one's gonna talk to me. I'm gonna sound stupid. I'm just gonna be quiet. Right. That's how I walked into the place. What I've learned is that in the real estate industry, at least here in Arizona, it's abundance mindset. And successful people know that they've been helped. None of anyone that's successful has been helped. I guarantee it. Yes, you could be self-made, but you got help at some level, and you pass that on. So I found in at least here at AZREIA, it was very supportive and bringing you up kind of thing, and looking at your deals. Or we love that real estate investors love to talk, so take advantage. Everyone loves to talk about themselves, so take advantage of that. But so then when I took over 3 years ago, that was a big question, right? I knew our mission: education, networking opportunities, and market information, and supporting real estate investors. So my role here, I always felt I think I feel it's to continue that mission, but also educate the general public that it's possible, right? Like that, because especially in our podcast and our social media, people are going, "You're crazy." They're talking, the trolls. You can't buy a house now. It's impossible for that. I want to spin that agenda from don't buy a house to continue saying. So I think I got to get the message out there that you can buy a house. right? And you don't have to buy 100 houses or whatever whether you want to buy one or 100 will help you, but it is possible. So that's one of the big ones. And another big issue that we're facing is the low supply, right? There's a housing shortage, especially here in Arizona. And this is the first time in history that the federal government has imposed a plan to go at the state level in regards to how to operate housing. So we don't want them in our backyard telling us how to rent our properties and giving us a nationwide plan. That's pretty scary. So we want to create awareness, right? We want to have a voice for the mom and pop real estate investor. Over 65% of rental housing in the United States and here in Arizona is by mom and pop, someone that owns two, three, four houses, right? And it's like this, it's going to hurt us the most. So paying attention to the legislative situations and keeping everyone aware of how it affects us, letting the politicians know how it affects the community, as well as the landlords and people, so they can adapt and change and vote right or make the right decisions in their make the right decisions in their business when things change and know and understand what happened. So
Yeah, and that's interesting that the government is trying to step in on, on the behalf of that. What's their game? What do they win as the government stepping in? Like, what's their benefit to that?
trying to figure it out, right? So check this out. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, right? I'm from Arizona. I have rentals out there, right? So I went there because you can buy a property under 100 grand, rent it out, great returns, right? And I've been in court for 4 years, or excuse me, 2 years on four properties, right? So I'm sitting here, man. I hope this comes out after my court date, but I'm sitting here, man. Right, they're going through my property like a fine tooth comb, right? Like I buy these things, renovate them to the best I can, put a tenant in there, and have a good relationship, safe, clean, affordable housing. That's the goal. They come in here because I'll just say this short. I went into Cleveland, Ohio with an Arizona LLC, and then when I refinanced the property, I realized my loan officer said, "You're not a foreign entity, right?" Or I didn't register. I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. So we did it at that time in order to get the refinance done. So like 6 months after that, the city calls and says, "Hey, you didn't register." I was like, "Oh yes, yes I am. Here's the paperwork." No, when you bought the house, you didn't, right? So, okay, so you're facing $5,000 fine and 10 years in jail. Oh, for property. Okay. Right off the bat, attorney's like, it's a money grab. So I say all that. So I'm finalizing these properties. It's a long story. I don't want to bore your listeners, but everyone's getting paid, right? The property manager, the contractors, the lead inspector, the city inspector, the court, the fines, everyone around me for the last 2 years has been getting paid and paid and paid and paid. The tenant is frustrated because we got to go to their house every week or every other week to bother them to let us in to check a light bulb or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, so I don't know. So my assumption is the lead company and the big companies in cahoots. I got the tinfoil hat on right now, but whatever you want to say, man, like everyone's been getting paid. I'm no cash flow for the next 5 years on these properties because everyone's just on it. And these are great houses and great tenants, and I don't know what the heck's going on. So I think it's just a bigger play, power, money. Look at the corporations come in and yes, I love that they build houses. They're doing build to rents in Arizona. Um, they're a lot of these legislation come down in Arizona. There's 25 anti-landlord bills going on right now that are hurting the small investor, right? I think a lot of them are proposed for the bigger investor because they're treating it like a subscription service. Like they want everyone to pay like your Spotify account. Don't own nothing, don't rent nothing, or don't buy nothing. Just rent, live, be happy, go to work, and pay us our returns on our rental properties because it might be safer than the stock market. I don't know.
Well, I guess so. If the renters, the tenants that are in that places are paying the government that money, then they're getting the money, and the let's say small people aren't getting the money, and so maybe that's the game they're at. They're just following the dollars and cents, and hey, there's a lot of money in this. We need money, so let's do this. We get some extra cash.
Yeah, and I
Huh.
will say, hey, like these big companies are coming in, buying, building communities. Great, it helps with the housing supply. They're doing it. Hey, it's fair game. They can do it, right? So it's like, we can learn from them too, right? But that you still have an opportunity to pay attention and just get a little piece of the pie while you can, right? Go buy a couple properties, change your life, accessing that equity or that appreciation will get the kids the braces, will put the kids through college. And, you just got to understand the rules of the game, adapt, right? Hopefully, I don't sound like an old grumpy man, but like, you just gotta. It still works, you know.
Well, so what I like is you are very, uh, like you said, there's just people that have the jets and have the Ferraris, and that's their selling point. These things, and hey, if you do this, you can have these things as well. But probably, they turn the camera off and they got to give all that stuff back because they're renting it for this time, or or maybe it's theirs. I don't know, but you have a much more realistic approach. You're doing this to put the kids through college. You're doing this to get the braces on the. That's much more realistic. It's not to get all of this extra get the car and the jet up. This is, it's much more realistic, which is, I'm sure, easier sell for the people that you're talking with, that you're communicating with, because it's realistic. It's not some big extravagant. It's no, do this to get the kids through college. Do this to pay for the braces or to, whatever it is, much more realistic and tangible than it is otherwise. And what that does too is that plays on their values, right? It
Yeah,
helps to set their values appropriately. And then that allows you, the type of person that would come to you would be that type of person that has the values in place where you need them to be, where you want them to be at. They're going to be the type of people, they're doing this for the best interest of whatever they have going on, not necessarily to make millions of dollars, although that's seemingly possible. That's not
yeah.
really the mission for the people that you want to attract as your clients.
Correct. And a lot there, right? So on point, you going into marketing, right? We're all marketers. We got podcasts, right? So yeah, I want to attract those people that like the Jets. So at some, it's just that's where they're at in their life, right? That appeals to them. The jet appeals to them, whatever it is. A lot of that, those people are internet marketers, right? So you guys got to understand, who's listening to this, when you're an internet marketer, you could just understand that human behavior and study that of a person, and their buying decisions, right? And once you understand their buying decisions, you can create a marketing plan around that, and you can sell any product to anybody. So a lot of these internet marketers, yeah, they know, hey, rent the car, like you said, right? Or lease it, whatever, and roll the video, buy my course, right? It's business, but people don't understand the fundamentals and some of the basics that support that you need, because they buy that 10, 20, $30,000 program and it's just way overwhelming and hard. And then they come to here to the real like, oh man, I just bought this $30,000 program. I got no more money, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you don't need all that money. You don't need to pay a $30,000 course, man, to learn this
Okay.
business.
So let's talk about your podcast here for a minute. You host the Azure, your co-host the Azria podcast.
Yes.
Um, I guess so. A couple things. Number one, what is the mission that you're looking to achieve with the podcast? Like, why have a podcast in association with this organization?
It's information. It's just exposing the information about real estate investing. One, right? We're an organization and we need to market ourselves, and we need people to come and learn, and right, that need our help. So by putting out the podcast, interviewing people, being on interviews like this, it's marketing, and it's spreading the word or the ideas that we have about real estate investing. So it's just informing people is the main thing. And like I said, the second part is, yeah, they'll check us out and hopefully we'll help them out.
And with the podcast, it's almost like you are using that to pre-qualify the people that would go to you and use your organization.
Um, Now, at the podcast level, I look at it like we're just pumping out content and information that we approve and stand behind, right?
I
Like
see.
it's good info. If you hear it, like obviously there's always a call to action or an invitation, right? Check out our website, come to an event. If you liked what you heard and you like our style, come by, right? Be curious and come through. So that is what I would say has been the main thing. Um, I have not done any ads. And then when we first started, like we have sponsors locally, I would put them in there, but we never charged for ads. We don't have anything running on our podcast. We may, I mean, I've been thinking about it, but like I think if I ran ads, I could spend more money to promote the website to let more people know would be the key. But yeah, man, it's just sharing information.
So with your podcast, you're the co-host. Does that mean that there's two of you?
Yeah, so Marcus Maloney, we're both we start so before I took over AZREIA, we started probably 6 months before I took over. And the founder, Alan, who started AZREIA 22 years ago, he let us put the show together, right? So Marcus and I are members and we were in educators here. So we just did the show just to help the community and share more information because Alan was kind of looking to retire. So their AZREIA's old marketing was emails and referrals. So anything you see from AZREIA, from social media to anything, we've created since the last 3 years. So yeah, I mean that's how it starts. So Mark and I just host it together.
So how does the dynamic work with two hosts or host and a co-host and a guest?
Mm,
What does that look like?
okay, good, right. So it's different, right? Because I will say, we don't pre-plan anything, right? Like we have the guest, obviously that's planned, right? We know who's coming on, we know their bio and what they're about, and we know just by being experienced investors how to draw out of them what can help the listener, right? So that's the goal. But when you have two people, right, he might be on one track in his mind, I might be on one track, and you got to respect each other's time on the show and maybe not interrupt each other or maybe miss out on a question or and you just kind of roll with it. So I think over the last 3 years of doing the show, we kind of just unsaid, we don't really even talk about it, we just kind of find our I don't even know, flow, or you know what I'm saying. So yeah, so it is different. Sometimes there's two people, right? So it's us two, and then it's like two business owners or two real estate investors that are partners, and that's even more, right? You got have that discussion going. So try to keep it like a campfire discussion and have a good time.
Yeah, so okay, so I'll backtrack a little bit. The reason that I asked that is because this show, in fact, you are the second one that I've done without my co-host,
Okay.
just because he got a different job. So he's still part of the show, just in a little bit different aspect. It is kind of the behind the scenes stuff. But we used to have where me and my co-host would be doing the interviews, and doing that was kind of it's an interesting play, right? Because you have to try to have a little bit of give and take, but we also have to not just talk to each other, but also talk to the guest.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just yeah. Anyways, I just was curious about how other people tackle that kind of two person on one person or two people on two people type of podcast.
It's hard, right? Because like think about it. You want to let out your thoughts, like especially so when you have a guest. The goal though of the show is extract whatever you have this guest on, so the members and the listeners could get the information in their brain. So you really got to bite your tongue sometimes, even if like I think I got a better answer. You know what I'm saying? But like you got to hold it in. You just like pull. You try to highlight the guest, right, for everything they got, and because they got something in there. Sometimes people are newer to podcasts, and right, and sometimes you got to like pull it out of them. It's interesting dynamic. Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know if that answer.
No, no, yeah, yeah, you're right on, right on. And the last one about the podcast. Do you always have a guest, or is it sometimes where it's just you two do it wouldn't be necessarily a solo show, but just you two without a guest?
Yeah, we do majority, probably like as of right now, like 90% are guests, right? So here's what you find as a local organization. My goal originally was we need to get local, right? We need that plumber, we need that air conditioner guy, we need the property manager, whatever it is. We need to give the best Arizona real estate information possible. So now, as you know, try booking people. Okay. And then try to keep that schedule filled consistently. To have one podcast every single week is couldn't be tough if you don't have a team, right? Like, so there's a booking process, and then people are busy. Like they're not. entertainers or showman people, right? They're like, hey, I got a toilet to fix, I got an air conditioner roof to get on, and that's my business because I got to feed my kids. I don't know if I'm going to make it to your podcast today. Like, so you deal with that. And then when that person comes in, it's just like, they feel like they're on, MTV, a news station, right? So it's a little shock. So it's a little, so I found that to be a struggle to keep filled with local, right? So then I went into Zoom a little bit and I started finding people around the country that were well known, that were more open to being on podcasts, right? So I had to fill in with national people to keep on Zoom versus in person. We do Zoom and in person. So
Okay.
we had to do that to fill in. So then even at that, then you start to notice, man, do I really want to air this person?
Mm.
Like it's because I try to say in the beginning, what's a win for you, right? Like, because when people come on, we're business owners. We want to sell everything that we know that we do because that's what we do. It's just natural, nothing bad. So it's like, hey, you can talk about before when we start the show. You could at the end. I don't care if you're my competitor. You can say whatever you want. Let's just pull everything out of your brain right now, and they just sell. You know what I mean? Or just so sometimes it's like you bump into those nationally, right? Or sometimes locally. Then I was like, okay, Marcus, we got to start doing more. Let's start doing more strategies or diving deeper into topics within real estate and to share our wisdom together, right? So now we're kind of doing that a little bit more now and trickling. So it'll be a more balance of probably me and Marcus and guests going forward.
Yeah, of course, as you start the show, you start with one kind of idea or mindset, and then as the show goes, it evolves, it changes, and grows into something that it will inevitably be, but it doesn't always start that way just because of the
Yeah.
process. You don't really know where it's going to go yet.
You don't, man. And like, okay, going back into long game real estate investing, I'm over 150 episodes in 3 years, right? Every week. And you're like, where's my Ferrari, man? Like, no, where's my 100,000 views a month, man? And it makes you in your own head, just like, hey, if real estate isn't working or your business that you're in is struggling right now, right? Like you start guessing, what am I doing wrong? Do I have to evolve? Do I have to change something? Do I got to talk different about different things? I don't want to be a gimmick. I don't want to be a shock jock, like I just want to get on there and talk about the deals I'm really doing. Um, and sometimes that doesn't catch people. I don't know. So I think just like everyone else, man, is the show working? But I've learned to stick with it.
Yeah. Well, and 100 over 150 episodes. I mean, you had to have found some sort of a groove, and you're
Yeah.
in and you're going, and something's working for you. And I would have to imagine. Okay, so backtrack a little bit, peel the layers back for me. My day job, quote unquote day, because I actually work at nighttime, is a professional martial arts instructor. That's what I do.
Oh,
That's my profession. I started training martial arts when I was 11. I started teaching when I was 14. I got a work permit from school. That's my first job. I'm 30. I'll be 36 next week. Doing that,
mhm.
that's my job. That's the job I've had. Started, barely helping with classes. Now I teach all the classes. I manage the teaching staff, the office staff. I write the lesson plans, the curriculum, everything. Do it all. In fact, when the owner comes in, he comes in, he follows my lesson plan and is under me on the teaching floor because that's the role that we put ourselves in.
Cool.
Um, so with that's my kind of background. I had a podcast that I did about how to do that as a day job, right? Did 52 episodes of that, got done with that, moved on to this one that I'm on now, the Prestigious Initiative. I think we've done almost 195 or something like that. I also have a daily show that I do where it's small. It's like between a minute and 4 minutes, 5 minutes every day that I've done consistently since just before Thanksgiving last year.
Awesome.
So that consistency, doing 150 episodes, like you said, that consistency builds the the drive for you to continue to do it, right? You build in that value because you're like, look at all this that I've already done. And
Yeah.
then you know that even though today may not be the day, you're like, oh, I'm not, whatever, but you do it anyways because you know that you build that into you, right? This is part of my routine. This is what I'm going to do. I put this in 150 episodes. All right, great. 151. We're going to do it again. All right.
Yep.
This one wasn't super great. That's okay. We checked it off. Let's get the next one. The next one will be even better. And you know, I heard a story one time about a lady who had the best soup store, in town, and people
Mhm.
would line up miles and miles. They'd wait in line for hours to go get this lady's soup because it's the best soup ever. They'd come back every single day. Well, in the beginning, she loved that. That was awesome. It was everything she wanted. She's in the soup or in the kitchen making the soup. People loving the soup. Oh, awesome. But 5, 10, 15, 20 years of that, people are still lining up to get the soup because it's amazing, but she's
Mhm.
stuck. She can't change. She wants to do something else, but she can't do it because that's what she's known for. That's what she does. And despite wanting to do something extra, despite wanting to change and kind of being burnt out of doing that, she still does it because she knows that the benefit that it's getting or that everybody's getting from that soup. So it's a little bit of a give and take, but awesome.
Yeah.
You did 150 episodes. I went off on a tangent there. Sorry, but
No, no, no. I want to just add to that, like, because what happens is, yes, I jokingly, oh, where's my 100,000? Where's the fame, right? Like, but when what happens is, so when you're listening, if you're listening to this, so leaving a review is helpful to us,
mm,
right? It's not a recognition thing. It's like, all right, they're listening. It's helping, right? Or when a member comes in and said, hey, the episode you did with so and so, and I'm thinking back, man, I was like, that was 2 years ago. You said this about you, how you did this with your son. I did that with my family. Thank you, man. Like, wow, all right, that's the true fuel,
that's
right?
right. Yeah,
So yeah, man. So yeah, that definitely keeps that video rolling.
that's right. So, all right, back to real estate. We'll move past the
Yeah,
podcast. I
I'll go
talked for
anywhere.
hours on that. On real estate, so the real estate industry is diverse. Investors can utilize, various different strategies. Could you shed some light on some different investing strategies your community engages in, and then how AZREIA supports those investors across whatever those strategies might be?
Got it. All right. So you all right. So I started with a strategy called wholesaling, right? Because and that's you may hear, saw the infomercials, you see the people online, no money, no credit, da 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 da, all that stuff. It's like, yeah, right, whatever. No, it's true. So basically, in short, you get someone that wants to sell their house. Like for instance, a common one that we get is what we call out-of-state owners, absentee owners. So someone in Wyoming, Arizona is known for a lot of people to retire. The family lives in Wyoming. Their mother retired out here. Unfortunately, they pass away, right? It happens, but they were a hoarder and the house is filled with junk and it's been neglected for 25 years and it looks like it's 1974 in there. So the family's in Wyoming and they got 5 kids and they work full time. The wife works full time. They can't come out here, fly out here, clean up the house, find a contractor, da da da, find a real estate agent that they trust. And when the agent does see it, the agent's not even want to list it because they can't make their commission right away by putting a pretty sign in front of a pretty house. So what do? Right? They're like, oh, I need a quick cash offer. It's a headache. It's a problem. We want people, we talk as a wholesaler, you talk to people that don't want their house, right? They don't, they need to sell. They don't want to sell. That's the key in real estate investing, right? So, investors can get a bad rap. Oh, you're taking people's equity. No, man, we deal with people that hate the freaking house. Whether you believe it or not, it's hard to believe. But it's the American dream, right? We're kind of talking about the messaging, right? It's like American dream is the biggest purchase of your life. Who in their right mind? I will tell you, I got 14 years of stories of people that cried and thanked me for getting that house that they inherited or was ran through by drug addicts and tweakers who took all their copper, like you fire damage. Like there's just scenarios out there. That's what I'm getting at. So they will sell their house for half off because it needs repairs. It needs $40,000, $50,000 in repairs. You can't just sell it at retail, whatever Zillow says. So we go in there and we buy that property. So as a wholesaler, right, a wholesaler is known to feed deals to a fix and flipper, right? So a wholesaler will get the contract, a piece of paper, a legal binding contract that says, hey, Mr. Owner, Mrs. Owner, I will buy your house for $50,000. Let's say it's worth 100,000. Just keep the number simple. And then we do our analysis as if we were a fix and flipper, for example. And then we say, okay, based on the market and the amount of repairs, a fix and flipper in this market will probably pay 60,000 for it. So I will take this piece of paper and go out to all the fix and flippers in our community and say, you can buy 123 Main Street and my interest in this contract for $10,000 fee, not commission. We're not real estate agents. We're not, selling houses. We're selling interest in paper. So the fix and flipper then goes, yes, that's a great deal. I love that area. I will pay 60,000. Fix and flipper brings 60,000 to the title company. No money doesn't exchange hands between anybody. The 60,000, 50 of it goes to the homeowner, 10,000 goes to me. So I use my whatever time, effort, knowledge to locate this house. That's my value I brought to the marketplace. And that, based on my analyzation of the property, it was appealing to the end cash buyer. So that's how you make money with no money or less risk. I didn't go to the bank. I didn't get my credit checked, nothing. So look up wholesaling. So then there's fix and flipping. You may watch HGTV. They have this ugly house. They make it pretty. They increase the value. They make the kitchen beautiful, the appliances, the bathrooms, and they serve a first-time home buyer, or so to speak, or a home buyer, someone that goes to Bank of America and has a job, has a W-2, has good credit, they have a down payment, they get qualified for a loan. The bank isn't going to let that person buy a house that has fire damage in it, right? So that's where we come in as investors. We revitalize these vacant houses and these drug houses and so on. So that person that gets the fix and flipper buys it from us, the wholesaler. So you can see the trend, and they have this ugly house now at $60,000. They put 10, 20, whatever it is, into the house. They renovate it. Then they hire a real estate agent and they sell it retail to that family with the bank loan. So that's where the wholesaler, the fix and flipper come in. The landlord does the same thing. They'll buy it wherever they buy it from, wholesaler, wherever it may be, their own marketing. And the only difference there is they will make it safe, clean, and affordable, rent it out. They might not renovate it like all the bells and whistles, but they'll make it to match the neighborhood, if that makes sense. And then a family that is just renting in their life, that's fine. They want to be in the school district, they want to be by the park, all the kids' friends. They will then rent the house from that person. So those are just three fundamental strategies. There's way more to real estate investing, how to acquire and exit on these properties, but we support that, right? So we don't want slumlords here. We don't want fix and flippers that are cutting corners and not pulling permits and not using general contractors. You know what I mean? So we will share that information with these investors. So they are the credible wholesaler, fix and flipper, landlord. They're doing things right. They're taking care of people and they're making money too and reaching their goals, right? So we are that resource for them to get the information that they need and resources in education.
Well, okay, so Mike, I got to tell you, before we went into this, I knew very little about the real estate investing game, but that was kind of in my eyes, at least an introductory to what's going on and how perhaps they get started. So if anybody's looking to do that seems to be the game plan right there. Very good.
Yeah, man. You just gotta, you gotta get in though.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You got to show up.
Right. Yes. Yes. So now the dynamic world of real estate, I'm sure, is ever changing,
Mhm.
and staying informed about these market trends is crucial. How do you and your team help to stay up to date on whatever is going on in this landscape?
So we do a market update every month at our main meeting. So if you're in the Phoenix area, the second Monday of every month at Venue 8600 in North Scottsdale, we do a trade show, networking, market update, and education. It's all jammed into one night. And so we bring in Tina Tambor of the Cromford Report. So basically, she's the number one real estate data analyst in the state. So she has her company, Cromford, does all this analysis. They pull from MLS, which is multiple listing sources for the real estate agents. They pull from public records and any information that they have in their resources. I don't know everything that they do, but they compile it all and they paint a picture for us, right? So it's about a 30 to 40-minute presentation for flippers, landlords, general real estate sales. So you walk out and you know where the market was, where it is, and where it might be going, right? And then that's where we come in as experts in our investor perspective is, hey, we've been around the business so long. When this is going on, right?
Mm.
This history shows this is what usually happens next. And then since this might happen next, we don't have a crystal ball, right? But these are the strategies that work when that happens. Or here's how to protect yourself when that happens, right? So that's the power of a market update. And yeah, check out your local RIA. Make sure they're licensed under the national RIA. They should have this stuff at their RIA. But yeah, that's what we do here in Arizona.
Well, and I'm sure being in the game as long as you have, you once you see this, X happens, standardly Y and Z and A and B happen right afterwards. So you can see those things as they happen. Okay, yep, probably this. It doesn't mean you're going to get it right every time. Like you say, you don't have a crystal ball, but because of the database that you already have, the experience that you've already had, the experience that you've went through, you can see, okay, this happens. All right, these things are going to happen next. And then you can kind of play towards those things, and if they happen, great, you're already prepared. And if not, then that's fine. You can pivot and do whatever does happen, as it goes.
And then that's what's great, like, because there's obviously communities online, right, that like have thousands and thousands of people, but they're nationwide, right? Like the power of the people of being local, like so if you tap into a member that's been in the business for 5, 10, 15 years and you're newer and you're just trying to get your first couple deals going, like they're gonna just gonna chat with you just in the room and hanging out, right? And saying, oh man, and back in 2014, like this is what happened to me when this happened, man. This is how I got through it. Like that wisdom, like you can't get that in those $30,000 programs, those 20,000. You're not gonna get it, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah,
you can go get that stuff, but you got to get with the people in your community doing it.
right. Well, okay, so well, I haven't talked to you about this yet, but I've thought about this for a little ways as we're talking. You're very niche down to the Arizona, and I get it. That's the whole thing where you're at for the Arizona community, and that is awesome. For a couple things that at least from my novice kind of eyes are looking at. So because you are in Arizona, you know all the things that are going on in Arizona. But on top of that, you talked about you're in communication with the people that are there, the plumber, all these small business type people. But I'm sure that you're also in communication with the flippers, the contractors, these type of people. And because of that network that you've built, when you or your team or somebody from the organization goes there, they know who you are. So that brings a sense of like, oh, yep, these guys are here. They know what's going on. I trust them. And that on top of the podcast, that makes that so much more because then you have all of that information that you're freely sharing with the people. And those people that are in Arizona are going to benefit from that. Now, I'm sure you probably have listeners that are not in Arizona just because, if they're in real estate, they probably want to listen to something like that because that's beneficial. But because you're in Arizona, all of these Arizona Arizona lights, what's the Arizonans? I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, good Arizonans. I think that's good.
Arizonans. Yeah, okay, sure. All of the people that live in Arizona, they are, for lack of a better phrasing, buying into you and your expertise, you and your organization, because you are there and you're presenting the information in that area and you're working with all the people that are there. So it just builds that connection, that community around the organization, which is phenomenal.
100%, man. That's exactly. You get a lot of people. We have investors that people out of state that invest in our state, right? So it's helpful
Sure.
to have the podcast. That's another reason we have the podcast, where we started streaming some of our networking groups, and we built out a brand new online community. So the people in Canada, China, Australia, New York, whatever, like we have people foreign and out of state invest in Arizona, and they could tap in online and watch the market update, get the information they need. So yeah, the community, the local expertise is key, man. People sometimes say, oh, you could take this national. It's like, yeah, yeah, to help people that are investing here. But I was always taught be a big fish in a small pond.
Mm.
You
Right.
know,
And that's the game that you're playing, and
yeah,
seemingly you're winning at that game.
yep, I
Yeah.
like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm winning. Feels
Yeah.
good to hear someone say that because you're in the trenches all day. You're like, am I winning? Am I alive?
Yeah. Yeah. You're here, you're showing up, you're giving the community valuable information, reliable information, and you're helping to build that smaller community of real estate investors within the bigger community of Arizona.
Arizona's big, man. We're growing. It's still good to invest here, man. We always look at job growth and population growth. Those are good indicators of a healthy market, right? So
Yeah.
we got both of those, man. It's not stopping. So like I said, even though things seem high now for the investor that's been here a while, or if you're new to real estate, like there's still ways to play this game, man.
So, Mike, as we're wrapping up,
Mhm.
what's on the horizon for AZREIA? Do you have any upcoming initiatives or events or goals that you can share with our audience?
Um, you know, we're always trying to reach more people, right? And change that narrative of don't buy a house and it's not affordable, right? A lot of stuff here, just if you were even going to, not to be political too much, it's like they're trying to make what I mentioned, the wholesaling, right? It's a great way for someone that has, like me, I can't, I always jokingly say my uncle was a foreman or like a superintendent or something like that for an apartment complex where he fixed things and mowed lawns. And I would go to work with sometimes with him, and he would be operating heavy machinery, drinking beer. Like I was like, that's all I knew. And that's the majority of America. Like that's we just know who we're around, right? And no, like a lot of our families don't say buy a house, and buy five houses, let alone, right? So, and I feel like in wholesaling allowed me to quit my job by selling paper, interest in paper, and allowed me to meet um, other fix and flippers and landlords and see how they think and the strategies they were using, and taught me the business, right, for free, right? Like just by showing up, like I'm saying. And it allowed me to quit my job and provide a different life for my family. And it changed the trajectory of where I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be drinking Budweiser, mowing lawns, man. I'm not kidding. And it's like, um, they're trying to like they're trying to make wholesaling illegal. And it's just a realtor play. It's like, you're taking away sales, and it's just bigger industries just saying we're doing wrong things. There's no reason. It's take our it's contract rights, right? Like they're trying to take our rights of assigning interest in contracts. Like for what? Right? Yeah, there's bad apples out there, but there's bad apples that screw you on your car. How many of us are scared to go to the mechanic? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we're cracking down on mechanics? No. So anyways, so things like that, right? 25 anti-landlords. So when the mom and pop, so initiative is the voice. The long story short, as I said earlier, like they're trying to do rent control in Arizona and extend eviction periods. Hey, it has to be fair for everyone needs help, right? Both sides. But like I said, if 65% of the owners on these rental properties are have mortgages and have jobs and they have two or three houses, and then you let someone stay in the house for 2, 3 months, or you tell them they can't increase rents over after 4 or 5 years after inflation and all these prices go up, and that money comes out of their retirement account, right? Or that college fund that we're trying to build towards. So our goal is to get that out there, as well as on the other side for you personally is help you achieve financial freedom, because it's possible. Like I said, I'm living proof that my life changed, and I never thought I would be here, man. So you could change your entire life through real estate investing.
Well, Mike, I want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights into the world of real estate investing and the powerful work that you're doing. And do you have any final thoughts or key takeaways for our audience?
I mean, if I could tell a quick story like
Go for
that,
it.
me out, man. So like so I used to own a hair salon with my wife. She was owner operator, and I used to work out of the back room of the wholesale, running my wholesale business, right? Kind of like was that guy Saul? What
Oh
forget.
yeah, yeah.
Right, so just kidding. But so so I was always running the business. And there's a gentleman named Dean Graziosi. You may see him with Tony Robbins right now, doing a lot of promo on the internet. But he originally started as a wholesaler. He is in our world. He used to sell wholesale education, infomercial guy, right? So I found out that he was getting his hair cut in our salon, right? And one of our stylists was cutting his hair for 18 years, right? So, and I'm like, why hasn't anyone told me that the biggest real estate guru in history is here, right? So I was like, but I always respected the stylist situation. Like I didn't want to be a fan and go, hey, it's me. No one would have probably cared, but I want to respect that guy's service time, right? Without being, Hey, tell me all about everything. So, anyways, that was my limiting belief at the time, I feel. And then one day I was like, I need to talk to this guy. He comes every week and he's the biggest known person. I'm trying to aspire to be someone known like that in the real estate world. So I could probably learn something. I got to ask him, shoot my shot. So I looked at the calendar and I saw when he was coming in next. So he was in there. So I had my phone. I was outside, right? And I'm walking around making calls so I don't miss him. And at the time, he had this pearl white Range Rover sitting right in front of the salon. My stylist said he paid like 110 grand for it, ordered it online. It was a beautiful car. And I'm like just waiting for him to walk out. And I was just going to ask him, right? I was like, wait and just shoot my shot. So he walked out and I'm like, okay, what do I say? I'm like, hey, Dean, Mike here, part owner of the salon. Just want, I want to be where you're at. I'm doing wholesaling, da da da. And in my head, I'm like, he's gonna roll out the holy grail. Like the scrolls are gonna drop. He's gonna just give me the game, and it's gonna be the most inspirational thing that ever happened in my life. He goes, hey, Mike, nice to meet you. He has like a little voice like that. He's like, hey, man, gotta go, but keep at it, Mike. Just keep at it. All right, man, have a good day. Boom. And I'm like, you build up this big old story, man. I risked I felt like I risked the situation and bothering him, all that, and shot my shot. And he said, keep at it. In my old world, if we didn't go back into my farther background, but I was in the music business, we called it Hollywood talk. Like, hey, yeah, I got you, let's do this, and he took off. So I was like, screw him. I was like, forget that guy, man. Like I went in my office, went about my day, and I was just like, whatever, man, that was stupid, whatever. So 3 years later, I'm in my office and I closed one of the biggest deals I've ever done, like a fee, right? Like, and I'm sitting there reminiscing, like, wow, I've been through lawsuits, people stealing deals, just ups and downs, not making money in some months, right? Then thinking about how some good times I've had and how good I felt in that moment. And I was like just reminiscing, and I'm like, how did I do it? Like, what all the crap I went through all these years. Like, how did I do it? And I was like, I kept at it, man. I was like, I just really just never quit. And I was like, literally, man, instantaneously, his voice went in my head, like, keep at it, Mike. And I was just like, I kept at it. Right. And I was like, little did I know, because I was being negative or grumpy or whatever it was, like, I got the best piece of advice I've ever gotten from Dean, but I didn't accept it at that moment. And I kept at it, and I'm still keeping at it, talking about the 150 episodes, right? Like, so if you just keep at it, the journey and the things happening every day is the true reward, man. So just keep at it. I'm going to pass that on. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And if our listeners wanted to get in touch with you, find more about your organization, where could they go to do that?
Yeah, just easy to find. AZREIA, Arizona Real Estate Investors Association, AZREIA.org is our website. You can just search AZREIA on social media. I'm sure you'll find us. Google us. Pretty easy to find. Just reach out. I'm Michael Del Prete on Instagram. You can hit me up on there if you'd like personally. Yeah, but I appreciate you having me on.
Very good. Thank you. Listeners, make sure you stay prestigious and stay tuned for our next episode.